Welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa, one of the friendliest service clubs in town. My name is Rhonda Daniel, and I'm the club president. We are so glad that you are here with us today. Let's begin our meeting by having our volunteers come forward. Song and pledge will be led by Jerry Dillon. On the piano, thank you, Tom Wolf. Visitor introduction, John DeBar. And now our invocation will be given by Joe Moran.
Please bow your heads. During this time of war, terror, and uncertainty, may we stay focused on the objectives that we have for the world: peace, tranquility, a true brotherhood of man, freedom from hunger, from oppression, and from sickness, and the freedom to choose one's own destiny. We reaffirm our commitment to our simple Rotary four-way test in all that we do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwills and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? We also reaffirm our commitment to high ethics in all that we do. May we continue with optimism, renewed energy, and commitment to service to our fellow men and women. We give thanks for all the blessings, opportunities, and responsibilities that befall us as Rotarians. Amen.
200 years ago, little did Francis Scott Key know that we would be singing the song that he wrote early in the morning. And President Boren, little do you know, 200 years from now, there will be thousands of people who will be walking along in the footsteps that you have led for us as a legacy. So let's join together as we recognize this great song.
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for the best 60 minutes of your week. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa, Club 2500, District 6110. As Tulsa's largest community service club and one of the largest out of over 33,000 Rotary clubs around the world, we have evolved as a leader in bringing parties together and spearheading projects that help mankind. We're going to do an abbreviated introduction of our visitors and guests today. I'd like to start by introducing the two tables of guests for President Boren. If you would please stand up to be acknowledged. Would you give them a big round of applause, please? Welcome, thank you. We have in attendance today Rotarians with their visiting guest. We'd like for each of those Rotarians and their guests to stand today so we can acknowledge you. Please give them a round of applause. Last, as is our custom for visiting Rotarians, we give them a high Rotarian. If we could have all of our visiting Rotarians stand, please, and we'll do a big high Rotarian for them. Hi, Rotarians. Thank you for coming to the Rotary Club of Tulsa. Come back and see us again soon.
Thank you so much. I want to welcome another new Rotary sponsor to the ranks supporting our club's activities. The new sponsor is Carl Vincent, and he's with Corporate Realty Advisors. We want to encourage you to do business with your fellow Rotarians. If both of you are living by the four-way test, you just cannot go wrong. In addition to today's sponsors, let's take a moment to thank all of those volunteers who came early today and made this meeting run so smoothly. We have one committee meeting today. It's the IBA Awards in room 234. So if you're on that committee, plan on attending. For a few announcements, I'd like to send congratulations out to Lynette Potter for completing her Blue Badge task by participating in the Yearling University this past Saturday. Great job, Lynette. Where are you, Lynette? There she is. Lynette has already joined a couple committees, and I've already seen her very active. So I encourage you as a new member to get involved in a committee of your choice so that you can feel the passion of this club. Our Youth Exchange Committee is collecting donations for 2 sports-themed baskets to be auctioned at the next week's district conference. There are flyers on your tables with more information. To donate, contact Alicia Herrera. Deadline is this Friday, September 19th. Alicia, where are you at? There you are in the back. The pretty little lady in the back, she's the one you need to see. All right, we are meeting off-site on October 1st at Celia Clinton Elementary School. This will be a very special visit as we are dedicating the playground improvement project at 11 a.m. in Mike Chittum's memory. So that we have enough food for everyone that's coming, please make sure that you sign up, not just for your guests, but for yourself as well. There's cards on your tables. This is fun. Speaking of Celia Clinton, mark your calendars for Wednesday, October 22nd for a night at the opera. We're going to host children from our partner school, Celia Clinton. John Raines will have more specific details for you in the email about this combined social and service event. We will treat the children to a spaghetti warehouse dinner and then accompany them to the dress rehearsal of Cinderella, featuring Sarah Coburn. So mark your calendars. You're going to want to have fun with the kids that night. Tim, would you please come forward and bring our newest member to the stage? The new member orientation was conducted by John Story. Thank you, John, for coming early and doing that. Tim?
My name's Tim Knoll, and I'm here for Joe Roberts, new member. He used to be your urban forester here in Tulsa. He's born and raised here in Tulsa, and I worked under him for, I think, almost 3 years when I first got out of school. So he's been a mentor to me, a good friend. He's, at the present time, Joe Roberts is a utility forester for PSO, and he's held that position for about 7 years. Outside of PSO, he serves on Oklahoma Urban and Community Forestry Council, and he's a member of St. Benedict's Men's Club. Joe has a wife, Rhonda, and a son, Garrison. I'd like to be able to entertain having him as a new member. Here's your full
So exciting when we have new people join. Thank you, Tim, for bringing our new member in. And now one of my favorite people in the club, right this way, sir, past President Bob McKenzie. We had a lot of fun when he was president. I was Sarge and he was Trouble.
Oh, yeah. Remember, I'm getting this mic in a second. I'm here to introduce the nominating committee for this year. It's that time of year again. But before I do, I want to let you know that one of the things a president, when they're sitting here and they're trying to keep the program on schedule, one of the things they fear the most is a past president coming to the mic. However, Rhonda assured me that she would do bodily harm to me if I didn't hurry. So I'll get through this. So I'm going to announce these members of your nominating committee. If you know of someone that you would like to see serve our club, you can go to one of them, or if you'd like to serve our club in some form, please let us know. Phil Lakin, who is climbing Mount Everest today, I think. If you would stand as I call your name. Tom Clinda. There's Tom. Karen Keith. Karen, I saw you. Okay. Rhonda. They've got the wrong name on here. It's Rhonda Daniel. They've got Renz on here. I don't know what the problem is. Jeff Hassel. Is Jeff here? Yeah. Hi, Jeff. Hannibal Johnson. I saw Hannibal. Here he is. John Hallen, who has a guest with him today, is my cycling buddy, Barb Hess. Glad to have you here, Barb. John, thank you. And Tony Oliva. I don't think I saw Tony, but everyone knows Tony. So if you would, just let us know if you have any nominations. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rhonda.
See, these past presidents know the drill. They're already coming up. Linda Bradshaw and Tim, what is going on today?
Well, President Rhonda, we are so thrilled to show you a historic picture. Are we catching this? Oh, we are, okay. This was the last time we attempted to do an all-group photo. This was in 1935, and thank you to Ron Butler. He actually broke this up, so the sections of this picture are showing up on the screens right now. But our Rotary Club did an exchange with the Oklahoma City Rotary Club and sent a delegation down by train in 1935. The funny thing is, they didn't have a place in Tulsa to really do a group photo, so they stopped the train in Sapulpa, got out, took this picture, and went on to Oklahoma City. So we are thrilled. This is we're gonna reprise this next week, and so Linda's gonna tell you a little bit about this cat herding experience we're gonna have next Wednesday, as all of us show up to have our group photo taken.
President Boren, you can imagine, look out across this room. We're going to try to get all of our members down on the Centennial Plaza on the Williams Green for our Centennial Photo of the Century. Do you think we can do it? Herding cats, but we know it's, hey, we know it's possible. You know, photos commemorate time. They commemorate memories. They put us in a place in space, and there's not a one in this room that doesn't take a photo at least probably once a day of something that's important to you. You look back and you reflect, and that's what this photograph is going to mean as we place it in our Centennial book. I'm very excited, Tim, that we're going to be able to provide shuttle buses for those who want to ride the shuttle buses. Tim's going to have about 50 parking passes to give out next week for those who want to drive down, park their car. I have reserved all of the meters. Oh, hello. Thank you, Tim. I have reserved all of the meters on
She said once a day.
3rd Street, and you do it many times. I have seen you posting on Facebook. But anyway, we've made it really easy. Past presidents will all be part of this, and our elders. So we've got chairs that will be placed so that for our Rotarians who have difficulty standing, wheelchairs up on the front row. We're making space for everyone in this club, and we're hoping that you're all there. Herding cats, not easy, but you know something? Oh, gosh.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Excuse me, I just, the herding cats, you remember the video, the group that we have hired, the cat herders, informed me that they will be arriving here by riverboat next Wednesday. The mayor, who will be speaking to us, has assured me he will have water in the river. But in the event that there is no water, we're going to need everybody's help and cooperation getting down there because we need to zip down to get that done. And oh, by the way.
Thank you, Ed.
Isn't coming to Rotary so much fun? It's so much fun. Okay, speaking of fun, Sarge, what do you have for us today?
All right, well, the first one is for President Boren. If you can get a pen out and mark this name. Nathan Napier is the most recent person that OU accepted last night. He's Roberta Preston's son. He just got accepted to do international security studies, and he'd be here, but he's still on the ceiling with excitement. So look out for him. We expect special things. And Roberta gave us $100 to announce that. So thank you, Roberta. So similar to last week, apparently my success at auctioneering has led to another one today. Karen Keith has given us a VIP honor guest pass for a family to go to the Tulsa State Fair, which I think starts around the 25th or 26th, and this includes tickets for up to 6 people plus a VIP parking pass. So get your thinking hats on, anyone who wants it, because I'm going to be auctioning this at the end. Ooh. Okay. So starting this week, Marianne Simpson, there was a great article in the paper about the Tulsa Job Corps just celebrating its 50th anniversary, and Marianne gave us $25 for that, so thank you very much. Marianne, are you here? She's over there, thank you. Barney James. Barney, do you want to stand up? There he goes, he's standing up. So Barney came up to me at the end of last week and said a pet peeve of Barney's is that when we have a guest come and speak to us, that when people ask a question, they sit down in their seat. So he said, could I fine people? And I said, no, but I can fine you $25 if you want me to ask people to do that. And he said, I'll give you 50, so here you go. So everyone, please stand up. Thanks, Barney. Kathy Taylor, you are not safe from Sarge no matter where you go. I caught her in South Africa, and from 9,000 miles away, she agreed to give us $91 for her birthday, which is 16 or 17 years, and then a few years since graduating OU Law, but it adds up to 91, and she wanted to pass on her regards to President Boren, too. Thank you, Kathy. Hannibal, I know you're here. Hannibal, 10 years in Rotary on September 29th, $100. Thank you very much, Hannibal. Karen, I know you must be here. There she is, because these made it to me. So Karen gave $100 for Marty Alexander and her husband, who were in the paper about Spring-Loaded Brewery, which is one of my favorite hobbies that they're going to business doing, which is coming to Sand Springs in 2015. So thank you, Karen, $100, and all the best to Marty Alexander. So a mystery Rotarian, who is female, as you can tell by the silhouette, gave $100 for Crescendo in honor of Miss Linda Bradshaw's birthday on the 22nd, which is the same day that Sonic is offering a 2-for-1 special on ice cream cones for Linda's birthday. So thank you very much, and happy birthday. Matt Newman. Matt? There he is, Matt. Congratulations to Matt. He was a City Star recipient, a picture of Matt with the mayor this past week. He's a board member on the Safety Oversight Committee, but he was awarded along with 2 others. So thank you for the $100 and congratulations. Calvin? Calvin, are you here? There we go, Cal. This was this morning phone call. Cal could not, we couldn't figure out who I was calling and asking him for money, but once we got through that and figured out that it was Sarge, he graciously gave $100. He was honored with becoming a distinguished alum at OSU this past week, and if you read some of the accomplishments and patents and other things that Cal has done, it's quite incredible. So thank you very much, Cal. Jerry? Jerry's right there. 51st Rotary anniversary and 54 years since graduating OU. Feels like yesterday, right? Thank you. Bob Spears. I saw Bob. Bob's right there. Thank you, Bob. $127 for his 27th Rotary anniversary on the 30th. So thank you very much. Jack McGlumphy. Jack. Is he not? There he is. Jack, thank you very much. $250 for Waterwells for Jack's 4th Rotary anniversary. So thank you very much. A mystery big giving Rotarian, which are some of my favorite mystery Rotarians. $300 for his 3 years in Rotary on the 28th. So thank you very much. So, President Boren, you may want to pay attention to this too. One of our generous Rotarians who was up on the stage earlier has tickets for all the OSU home games in case you have an interest, and in case you don't, if you don't have a good hookup for the OU home games, you can write your name down and auction on all of them, but maybe you have some connection there, I'm not sure. congratulations to Jeff Hassel last week, who got the OU tickets last week. There are sign-up tables outside for all of the rest of the OU and OSU home games. And a reminder, Tim and Barbara purchased these season tickets to be able to give as a gift to the foundation, which is wonderful. So thank you. All right, this is my last thing. So the Tulsa State Fair, which has new significant parking restrictions, for anyone who has kids or grandkids and wants to take them to the Tulsa State Fair, you do not have to go in as an ordinary member of the public. You can go in as an honor guest with this from Karen Keith. So 6 tickets plus a VIP parking pass, $50? Raise your hand, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100? 110? 120? 120? Okay, were you the 110? Okay, I've actually got 2, so I'm getting both of you. Thank you very much.
Now that was pretty smart. We got you both. Well, now it's time to introduce the Rotarian of the Day, Dr. Jerry Clancy. Dr. Jerry Clancy is president of the University of Oklahoma, Tulsa. He is also an honorary member of our club. Please welcome Rotarian of the Day, OU Tulsa President Jerry Clancy.
Thank you, President Rhonda. Well, it's my great pleasure to introduce to you once again, with the highest levels of objectivity, my boss, David Boren. You know him as a statesman, a legacy builder, and a mentor to thousands. I can think of no single person that has had the impact that he has had on Oklahoma over the past 50 years. You know him as a statesman, serving as our state's governor and then U.S. Senator for Oklahoma. Many hoped he would run for U.S. President, but he chose more direct service to Oklahoma and our next generation of leaders by becoming the president of the University of Oklahoma. And we here today are indebted to him for making that choice. What you may not realize is that over more than 2 decades of service, he has built a wonderful legacy for Oklahoma's future. He has transformed the University of Oklahoma. We have the highest number of national merit students at a public university. We are. Thank you, Joe. We are ranked among the best for freshman experience, which is a key indicator in our nation-leading graduation rates. We are ranked among the nation's best for value, campus beauty, and student volunteerism. And quietly, he has led a most impressive campaign for campus efficiency, saving tens of millions of dollars per year that can be brought back to the education of our students. Now, there's a side of David Boren that is less apparent to the public that is very important in this day and age, and that is his deep commitment to campus culture and safety. There have been many times that he and I have had the 5 a.m. discussion on what to do with the incoming winter weather, or the 2 p.m. call in the spring in Oklahoma on what to do with pending severe storms. If I have a campus safety concern, no matter what he is doing, I get to talk to David Boren immediately. His concern for the well-being of his students, staff, faculty, and visitors is ranked #1 in the nation by me. So I couldn't find any other ranking, so I started it. And finally, he's a mentor to literally thousands. Paul and I have had the joy of watching our children be mentored directly by David Boren as they have attended the University of Oklahoma. President Boren still teaches classes each semester, and his culture of mentorship still spreads across this country like a wildfire. For example, last month, we visited Silicon Valley, California as part of our summer vacation. We were able to schedule a rare and exclusive visit inside Google headquarters because one of David Boren's mentees, Josh Woodward, knows and loves David Boren, and Paula and I know and love David Boren. As we were having lunch at Google, my tech-savvy youngest son, Joey, asked Josh Woodward, "So how do you get a job at Google? Aren't there 10,000 applicants for each position available?" Josh answered, "David Boren and Rotary." True story. After graduation at OU, David Boren helped me get an exclusive economics fellowship at Oxford, and Rotary provided me a fellowship at Oxford, and Rotary provided me the scholarship so that I could actually go. I could not have done it without David Boren's recommendation and Rotary's scholarship. That happens every day in the world of David Boren and in the world of Rotary. We are all better off because of it. Rotarians, please welcome President David Boren.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Well, you know you're worried about what reception you might get when you bring your own introducer with you, and it helps if I get to sign the paycheck of my introducer every month. Jerry, thanks so much. Thanks for all you do for Tulsa. And Rhonda, thank you for hosting us today. And thank all of you. You know, I was sitting here and I was excited to know that this is the 100th anniversary. I know so many things this club has done. I didn't know about the daring trip to Oklahoma City, but that was an interesting part of the club's history. But I thought maybe you invited me because you're 100 years old and you thought maybe I spoke at the very first meetings that Rotary had. But actually, I looked it up, and with all the other accolades of being one of the largest Rotary clubs in the world, literally, and doing so much for this community, working with schools in such a special way, working with nonprofits in this community in such a special way, I have to say that I think you also get the award as the most long-suffering, patient audience in the entire country. I realize this sounds a little bit like a Jerry Clancy rating, but it really is true. You have to be, because I did look it up. It wasn't 100 years ago, but it was 41 years ago that I first had the privilege of speaking at Tulsa Rotary. And so it really is, it's really great to be back. In your 100th year, it really is special for me to be here. You know, it's been a great start at OU this year. As Jerry said, we have the largest freshman class that we've ever had in the history of the university. We had the highest ranked freshman class that we've ever had in the history of the university or at a public university in the state of Oklahoma. The last time I spoke here, a couple or 3 years ago, I said we had, and I was very proud of it, we were first in the nation among public universities. We had 170 National Merit Scholars in our freshman class. This year we have 311 National Merit Scholars in the freshman class, and we're waiting. We already know that we're far and away the number one in the country among public universities. We know that we have defeated Yale, Stanford, MIT, Chicago, and others, and we're still waiting for the final figures from Harvard. So I've got my fingers crossed and hope that we've been able to do that. But it's really been an incredible time. Our research park won this year, along with such places as Research Triangle before, the National Association of Research Parks in America, the number one ranking, number one in the United States, best research park in terms of its growth. And that research is growing on all three of our campuses, and including in this campus. Our Natural History Museum this year, there were 5 libraries and museums in the entire country that received the White House Medal for Excellence, and our Natural History Museum was one of those 5. It's the state's Natural History Museum. It's not just the universities that happens to be at OU and OU sponsored, but it is the state's Natural History Museum. Things that are going on here are incredible. We have partnered with Philbrook, as all of you know, in receiving the Adkins collection. And this year we've been notified that in terms of the value of our art collection, we are now among the 3 top universities, public or private. Only Yale and Harvard are slightly ahead of us, and we're gaining in the value of our collection. So that is something to really be proud of. What's happening with our School of Community Medicine here in Tulsa, with our partnership with Tulsa University and the University of Oklahoma, is amazing. We'll be soon we're on the cusp of getting ready to enroll our first freshman class. Today we're going to have 3, not 1, but 3 events on the OU Tulsa campus, the Schusterman campus. We will be breaking ground on the new Tandy Center, which is going to be a place where we can have simulated patient experience, not only for our students, but also for mental health professionals in the city of Tulsa in the future, working in simulated conditions with patients. And we also have 2 more ribbon cuttings on the campus for a new student cafe and a new student union. So things are really moving forward as we look in all directions at the university. And you know, today, and I didn't realize this would be the day until I started just thinking about what I might say to you. Today is also Constitution Day in the United States. It's 227 years since the Constitution was passed by the delegates in Philadelphia and signed by those delegates. So it is time really for thinking about what in the world is going on in our country. It's a remarkable, remarkable document as we look at all of the unrest and the division around the rest of the world. The fact that our Constitution has held us together as a very diverse people, held us together by the things we believe in, not on the basis of our race, our religion, our ethnicity, our economic standard, or anything else, held us together as a people because as a document, it encapsulates the things we believe in together. And that's what's made this country so unique. It's not on a tribal foundation, it's on a foundation of ideals. A few years ago, I, in a weak moment, agreed to give the birthday address on George Washington's birthday at Mount Vernon. My friend David McCullough kept talking to me about it. I said, I don't know enough about George Washington to speak at that occasion. Everybody in the audience, it was a black tie dinner at Mount Vernon, 800 people there, every one of them an incredible, if you ask them, you know, what was George Washington doing on a certain day in September in a certain year, they could tell you exactly what George Washington, that's how good they were. So I had a year to prepare, thank goodness. And so for a whole year, I think I read 27 different books about George Washington that had been written since I had been in college. And I literally lived with George Washington for an entire year. Every night before I went to sleep, after saying my prayers and remembering my blessings, I had a few words to say about David McCullough for getting me into that speech. But I did. I lived with George Washington for a year. And then after it was over and the pressure was off, I was really grateful that I'd lived with such a remarkable person for such a long time. I didn't know. He did a lot of things. He was a very far-sighted person. He was the first in Virginia to try to allow marriage among his slaves. The state wouldn't allow him. He was the first to try to set up a school so they could be educated and literate. The state wouldn't let him. And when he died, he was the only Southern founder of the country who freed his slaves in his will, and he not only freed them, but he set up an endowment trust fund because he said they had been kept away from education and training. They weren't able to function in the outside world, and his former slaves drew on that trust fund. The last one in 1838 was the last one drawing on that. He was an amazing man, but I also didn't know that he had run for president the second time for one and only one reason. He hated being president. He wanted to go back to Mount Vernon. He's the only person elected by the Electoral College unanimously in the history of our country. Twice elected unanimously by the Electoral College. But he didn't want to run the second time. And he wrote in his diary that he ran for the second time because he realized that trying to hold this diverse country of ours together was such a task that in many ways it was his personality. It was George Washington himself that was uniting the country and playing that role. And he said, I didn't want the allegiance of the country, the stability of the country, to rest solely upon me as an individual. I wanted this country to be unified by the ideals in the Constitution. I wanted to transfer the loyalty from myself to a loyalty to the Constitution and the form of government that it set up. And he said, I think if I run for a second term, maybe I can devote myself so fully to that cause that we will have that kind of dedication to our Constitution generation after generation in which it's passed on. And to the inside of that, to understand that, I think sometimes we're taught George Washington was this man in a uniform who couldn't stand up to the likes of Thomas Jefferson and John Adams and others early in the founding intellectually. Not true. He had incredible intellectual insight into what this country needed, and especially insight into the importance of the Constitution itself. He was, if anyone ever was, the indispensable person in the American Revolution and the establishment of our government today. And then but today it's really, I've been reading different articles, listening to people on the radio, and sometimes I really get angry. They say things like, our Constitution's no longer relevant. The world 227 years ago is such a different world today. It no longer works. The checks and balance system, which so delicately keeps our government, the branches of our government in check, it no longer works. We can't make decisions. There's simply an inability to move to make critical decisions or to meet the challenges that face us in the modern world. It is the fault of the Constitution. It is out of date. It is dysfunctional. Well, hearing comments like that really makes me angry. It's not true. There's not anything wrong with the Constitution, which has served us so well for all these years. Yes, it does need some reforming in certain places. Yes, we need, now that independents are the largest self-declared political group in America. That happened 2 years ago. It's kind of a shock. More than Democrats or Republicans, more people now say they consider themselves more independent than anything else. And yet we have an election system, a primary system, that does not allow independents to participate in a meaningful way. We still really have the monopoly of the two parties over our primaries, for example. We have other things that are going on. I think I don't need to tell this audience what is happening about the billions and billions of dollars now flowing into political campaigns every year. And how does that distort the political process? I remember the first year I ran for the legislature, I spent $2,800, and I was absolutely shocked at the end of the campaign that I had spent so much. When I ran for governor, I raised the first $8,000 by having people turn on their porch lights. We literally had a porch light campaign in my hometown, and that's what launched it. And if someone could said, you could have all the money you can raise or $50,000 to run for governor, I would have taken the $50,000 and run. Now it's probably $8 million if we're looking at a statewide race in a state the size of Oklahoma. Think what it is in a state the size of Texas or New York or California. So yes, we have things that need to be modified about our Constitution, but mainly we need to look at ourselves in the mirror and think about the priorities that we're setting for our country, the priorities that we're setting for our state. I shared with you a few years ago the experience I had when I was interviewing Rhodes Scholars. And I asked these incredibly bright students from several different colleges and universities, how long do you think the United States will be the world's leading superpower? And if you remember that story, which you probably don't, it really spoke to me because the students looked down at their shoes. They had no answers. They had been answering every other tough question you could imagine right off the top of their heads. And when I said, how long will we be? And then to kind of help them, and they looked at me with this total shock. Each one of them, they were in there individually. There were 14. They came in one at a time, and we asked questions. They looked at me like, how dare you ask that question? Aren't you patriotic? What could you imagine? And you know, you could tell that they wanted to shout out the answer, always, always, we will be the leader of the world. We'll be the leading superpower in the world. And so to help them along, I said, well, are the Greeks still the leading superpower in the world? Are the Romans still the leading superpower in the world? Are the British still the leading superpower in the world? Are the Ottoman Turks still the leading superpower in the world? Still, they seem baffled by the question. And so I turned it, I said, what do you think will determine whether or not we can remain an influence in the world? We, 5.5% of the world's population. How can we remain leaders in the world? And I was troubled. I went away troubled. I thought, why aren't these really bright students thinking deeply about the challenges we face? Why did we just take for granted we'll always be number one without having a strategy, without having a blueprint, without putting a lot of energy and effort into it? as people. So I asked the question again. I asked it just 3 weeks ago to my honors class. I said, how long do you all think? One student raised his hand. He was the optimist in the class. He said 50 years. Another student raised his hand and said, we're not now. We're in decline. And the average guess was maybe 25 years was the average, that we had 25 years to play a leading and important role in the world. And I was shocked by it. And then I went away worried about something else, not about their apathy, not about their inability to think of the challenges facing us, but about their pessimism. I wanted to say that's not the way Americans should view the world ahead. We've always had a can-do spirit. If you read our history, which not too many of our people read our history, you know we faced challenges as strong as the ones we face today before, and we've always overcome them. And so I wanted to breathe optimism back. Then I read a poll this last week, the Gallup poll. Maybe some of you saw it, that said 72% of Americans think we're in some kind of decline in terms of our position as a nation and in terms of our role in the world. And it's true we face challenges. It's true that our GDP, our GNP, if we compare it to the world's GNP, our share of the world's wealth is falling faster than in any other time in history of any other nation that we've recorded. It's true that our middle class is shrinking, and it doesn't matter if it's a Republican administration or a Democratic administration. It has been falling over 1% a year for the past 15 years. And so we run the risk that the middle class is going to be simply squeezed out, the very glue that in many respects has held our country together, economically, politically, socially, a backbone of the country. But we do have certain assets. While we have only 5.5% of the world's population, we have 90% of the world's greatest colleges and universities according to objective standards and observers. 90%, we 5.5%. We have won more Nobel Prizes than all of the rest of the world put together, and we have several times as many Nobel Prize winners as many as the rest of the world put together, particularly in the sciences and mathematics and in other areas. We've been a creative society. We're a free and a dynamic society. We have incredible advantages. But what should we do about these challenges that we face? The answer is pretty clear. If our colleges, our universities, our research, the creative spirit of the country, the talents of the next generation are our great treasure, we should be investing in them. And yet, we're doing just the opposite as fast as we can. 47 states last year spent less on the education of the next generation than they spent in the year 2008. We were one of those 47 states disinvesting as fast as we can in all of our education from kindergarten through postgraduate and professional education. When I look back at where we were in the 1970s in Oklahoma, over half of all of the cost per student in our colleges and universities, over 50% was paid by the state. The rest by the students and their families and tuition fees, and in other earnings by the universities and colleges. By the time I got home to become president of the University of Oklahoma from the Senate, it had fallen to 32% from the state. This year, it's between 16 and 17% from the state. And as we struggle to bring about the life of our new community medical school here in Tulsa with the University of Tulsa, only about 6% of the funding for our medical colleges in Oklahoma comes from the state. Who's paying the rest of it? The rest of it is being paid, and it's almost tripled at the same time. You can look at the math and you see why. The portion paid by students and their families, their parents, themselves by working extra hours has almost tripled in the state over the same period of time. And guess what that has caused? You can have the greatest colleges and universities in the world, and we do. By international surveys, we do. But if you don't have access to them on the part of your own students in your own country, we have a flood of students from overseas. We're glad they're here. They go home, they're educated here, they become great ambassadors for the United States. It's just like the outreach of Rotary around the world. It's wonderful to have this opportunity. But what about our own students here in our own country? 12 years ago, we were first in the world in the percentage of those leaving high school going on to higher education or vocational training after high school. First in the world. And here we are 12 years later. We are 14th in the world in the percentage of our students going on to higher education or post-high school education. In the very same year that this year, the figures show that the economic gap, the lifetime earning gap, the income gap between those who stopped their education at high school and those who went on to education after high school, that economic gap is the largest in our history, while at the same time we're falling from 1st to 14th in the number of our children who are able to afford to go on to education. So we obviously should be investing, not disinvesting, in the greatest asset we have, our children and our outstanding colleges and universities and our education K through 12. We should be investing. You know, the greatest period of time, and we all remember it, when in 25 years did the real incomes of Americans double? All Americans, rich, poor, and middle, all doubled in 25 years. It was during the period of time after World War II of the GI Bill of Rights, in which we quadrupled the number of students going on to college because those who had fought and those who had worked in the war effort were given the opportunity basically for free higher education in this country. And economically, it created an economic miracle in this country. At the last time I looked, it'll take us 2,000 years or more for real incomes of Americans to double again. And we did it in 25 years under the GI Bill of Rights. And so it's very clear what we should be doing. We should be investing in our colleges and universities. We should be creating opportunities for the middle class in this country in order to make it strong, enable them to become consumers, enable them to be full-fledged citizens, fully educated citizens and voters in our country. You know, sometimes people, and I watch what's happening in the political spectrum today, where people are saying, well, we need to, just because of the problems with the middle class and the rest of it, we need to have some government edict from on high in Washington that simply says we will redistribute the income in this country. Some socialist solution, I would call it, to use the force of government to redistribute the income so we bring back the middle class and we end the disparities between the two ends of the spectrum. I don't believe in that at all. I don't believe that we need that kind of what I would call a socialistic approach to it. But I do believe this. The one thing we fervently believe in as Americans, and it's embedded into our constitutional doctrine, is equality of opportunity. Let's make sure that everybody, let's don't redistribute the wealth. Let's just make sure that every child born in America that has the ability and the work ethic that's developed has an opportunity to develop all the potential that's in that child with good education in this country. Let's do it that way. And so, and I know I'm oversimplifying, how do we build our country? How do we build its strength? How do we build our state? I don't think it's playing around with small adjustments in the tax codes. I think it's by building a reputation and a true state of excellence in our society, beginning in our state. We need to create more jobs for middle Americans by building back the infrastructure of this country, which has fallen behind. We're only investing a third as much as we did 40 years ago in the infrastructure of this country. Let's think not only of roads and bridges and fiber optics and the rest of it, Maybe we should even start, and we've certainly seen it in Oklahoma and California and other places, thinking about systems of reservoirs and pipelines for water distribution around our country, as well as for oil and natural gas distribution in our society. Maybe we should do that. Rebuild our colleges and universities. Be a state that is known across the country for the excellence of the educational opportunities that would await any children that are here and any children of those families that decide to move and relocate to Oklahoma. Become known as a state with a strong infrastructure. Be known as a state that has outstanding health care for people at all parts of the state, all geographical areas. And that's why we have felt so strongly about what we've been trying to do together with Tulsa University here in Tulsa. And so that's how we build excellence. That's how we build our future. That's how we engage in nation building at home here in America. The challenge is before us. It's about setting the right priorities. Some of this audience, I remember it distinctly. I used to see it on a lot of cars, and in a way it was sort of gallows humor. But you remember the last oil boom we had in Oklahoma. Some of us remember that. Some of us remember it happily, some unhappily. But after it was over, and I guess it was the 80s, there were bumper stickers all around that said, "Dear Lord, please give us another oil boom. Next time we won't mess it up." And what was meant by that was we engaged in too much instant gratification. We engaged in not enough planning to diversify our economy as a commodity goes up and down in the marketplace. We underinvested in the things of real importance for our state, and that's why we see some of the statistics that we see in terms of the health of our people and the education of our people in our state. But now we're being given another opportunity. I looked at the latest figures out in terms of economic growth in our state compared to national economic growth. We're doing very well. We're on the cusp of another boom in the energy sector. I would predict to you that it's a boom that will rival in our state the last oil booms we've had. Some have even said that the amount of oil and gas to be recovered through new technologies and horizontal drilling and the rest of it in our state is going to lead to a boom that will lead this state to be producing more oil and gas over the next decade than is being produced in Alaska, for example. We're on the cusp of it. We've been given a second chance. How wonderful second chances are. All of us need second chances from time to time. Send us another oil boom. We won't mess it up this time. And so I would say to you, now it's time for investment in Oklahoma. It's investment time in our state. It's time for us to take the resources that are here and the resources that will be forthcoming and really flooding upon us over the next decade and make sure that we invest in the diversification of our society. Make sure that we invest in our infrastructure. Make sure that we invest in our health care. Make sure that we look at the areas of economic growth in our society and we overlay them with the educational strengths that we have in our state to prepare our young people for economic opportunities that will be here in our country and around the world in the next generation. It is investment time at this time of second chances for us. Is our Constitution basically at fault, or our constitutional system basically at fault? No, it's rock solid. Do we have a reason in this country to be so pessimistic about our future as the polls indicate? No, we do not. The future is in our hands. Let's take this second chance. Let's set the right investment priorities for our state and our country. Let's take that opportunity in both hands, and let's vow that we will not ever give up on America. Not ever. Thank you so much for letting me come and talk today.
Don't you love coming to Rotary and you get chili bumps? If you don't have them, you're dead. Okay? Thank you for making us proud to be Oklahomans and proud to be Americans. We have so much we can invest in our state, our children, and as Rotarians, gosh, we've been given so much opportunity. Get involved in your committees, get involved in your community, get involved in the state. Thank you, President Boren, so much. Let's give him another round. A book recognizing today's program will be presented to our partner in education school, Celia Clinton. It's called Mr. Ambassador, Warrior of Peace. And there is a lot of history there in that book, so appreciate you for signing that for us, and we'll dedicate that to the library. The upcoming programs, gosh, we have no idea what's happening next week, do we? Okay, Mayor Dewey Bartlett and G.T. Bynum will talk about the Funding Tulsa's Future, plus our picture. You don't want to miss that. You want to make sure that you come. The next week, make sure you have this down, is we are off-site at Celia Clinton School. As we conclude, enjoy A Familiar Bars by Katrina and the Waves, Walking on Sunshine for some light-up Rotary fun to brighten your day. We are adjourned.